tax liens are very challenging, right? So, with tax liens, you definitely got to do a lot of homework. But you can find a tax lien list at your local tax assessor. So whatever, your local tax assessor, you just go there, you type it in, and you find a list. And some, some states are different, and some, local counties are different. Um, for example, the state of Georgia, they do a year and a day. So it takes a year and a day before you can actually get a actual deed to the property. So every state is different when it comes down to tax liens, but you can definitely get a list from your actual local tax assessor.
Morris, thanks for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host, Matt Camp, head of partnerships for DealMachine. And on these, we really like to shine a industry spotlight on experts like yourself who have inspiring stories and can really educate our audience on where they're seeing the market go and how they got to where they are today. So really excited to welcome on Morris Smith today. You might know him as Mo Beyond the Clippers. You put out, YouTube content, Instagram, TikTok. I know you opened your first barbershop at age 22, then became an real estate agent and real estate investor, and now you're one of the a top online real estate investing educators. So excited to have you on and talk about you've got the portfolio of like 30 plus you've partnered up with people on, and a variety of different experiences that you can share with our audience today. So welcome on, Mo.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about being here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Can you maybe start? I know I've read a little bit about your background, but can you talk a little bit more about, how you got into real estate, your journey to where you got to today, and some of the decisions you made along the way that really helped to get you to here today?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's crazy how it started, but I'm just a kid from Montgomery, Alabama. My mom worked three jobs, and it was one of those things where I didn't have my father in the house. So I didn't have, any of those things that, I guess you would say regular families would have. And a lot of things, just hustling, bustling, along the way. And went off to college. And, when I went off to college, and I was cutting hair. So I've always been cutting hair, you know. And I went off to college, was cutting hair in a barbershop. And it just so happened that a lady that was, would come in the barbershop all the time, just talking to me about real estate. But she was actually a real estate broker. She had her own brokerage. And, she was just very adamant about me, getting my real estate license. And I had no idea about real estate, how it worked, whatsoever. And I sat back and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take her up on the offer because she was adamant. And after that, I went and got my real estate license. I failed the test twice before I was able to move, to move on to sales. But it was just one of those things where she kind of just gave me that push.
That's awesome, man. And then once you got your license, how did you get into investing?
So I bought my first house at 23, and when I bought that house, that was a game changer for me because um, a few years later, I refinanced the property down to like a 2.2% interest rate. And in my mind, I was thinking like, if I move out of the house, I was like, I could profit about $800 a month. And and that's when my wheels got to turning. So my wheels got to turning, and I just made the move. And it was hard. It was hard to move out of a home that I owned. It was my first property. I had a personal attachment to it. And so once I moved out of that property and I started cash flowing off of that property, everything started making sense. You know, the attachment left. So I started making money, and that is what started me to go out and buy more properties.
Nice. Yeah. And then I know, I mean, obviously you're putting out great content on all these different social media channels about real estate, about investing. I know you really kind of created Beyond the Clippers to really inspire and motivate and teach other people about financial freedom. What
Mhm.
really motivated you to do this? Like, where did you know, what's the why behind it? I'm just curious on your just the passion you have for it.
Well, for me, just being a barber, being in the barber industry, being an entrepreneur, we don't have like 401ks or any type of retirement benefits. And so for me, retirement, that's what I was thinking long term. I was thinking like future and longevity. So because I know that I didn't have any type of, 401k or anything, any type of retirement set up. So I wanted to set that up and also encourage people who are, in the industry or just entrepreneurs how to set up their own 401k if you don't have that set up. And so that was one of my reasons for just, producing this content and showing people, this is my why. My why is, retirement, being able to have something to fall back on, um, having tangible assets to invest your money in. Because in our industry, you know, believe it or not, we're making a lot of barbers are making six figures, but you're making cash, and you're just trying to figure out where you need to put it.
Yep. Yeah.
And so for me, I wanted to put it into real estate, and it worked out because I did it so early. You know,
Yeah. I was going to say, is there anything, looking back on, I know you said you got into it early. Is there anything that you would have changed over that journey of like, hey, hindsight 2020 for newbies that are just getting started, recommend, doing this when it comes to real estate or this?
yeah, knowing what I know now, I probably would have purchased a 2 unit or a 4 unit instead of buying a single family. So I'm always telling people, hey, that's the only thing I probably would have did different.
Hmm.
I would have bought that 2 unit that I could have lived in one side and rented out the other side. So because I always feel like, your biggest expense is gonna be your living expense. And if you can cut down your living expense, then you pretty much that's half the battle when it comes down to just making money and cash flowing.
Yep. Yeah, I know that house hacking strategy is something we talk about often for sure. And yeah, I love hearing about your story, how you got involved in real estate so early. You've been a very successful entrepreneur in a lot of different ways, a successful, very helpful teacher, a great dad in a lot of ways. Like, I love hearing your background there. You talked about how you said like, hey, growing up, the odds were against you, that you were, not necessarily on that path right away. Do you have any advice for others watching this that the odds might be against them, that you can show them, hey, here's how I did it?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hard, man. I mean, I think everybody faces some type of challenges, whether you come from money or whether you don't come from money. I think we all face, some type of challenges. It's one of those things where, you have to, really change your mindset and, put yourself around good people, quality people that's gonna help guide you along the way. Just like what we're doing right here. You can watch, content like this. You can watch YouTube videos, whatever it takes to help motivate you to get to that next level. You know, because like I said before, it's definitely going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And I definitely beat the odds. I was, always in trouble. I was always doing something I didn't have any, business doing. But it was a wake up call, getting into trouble. It was a wake up call. I was able to play sports that would allow me to, stay out of trouble. Coming from the type of community that I came from.
Yeah, because you played football in college too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Do you think football had an impact on how you were an entrepreneur, and like that, anything that transferred from that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just being able to, my coach always talked about facing adversity, and not only are you going to face adversity on the football field, but you're going to face adversity through life. And so those, those talks that, coach gives us, at the end of practice when we huddled up, all those, that motivational talk that, because coaches always was like fathers to us, because if you didn't have a father, that's how our coaches were. Our coaches were like fathers. And so we listened. Well, some did, but I did.
That's great.
Definitely.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think, like you talk about your coaches there too. You also talk about the, the real estate agent that would come in and be a mentor to you too. Are you glad you went the real estate agent route? Like, is that something you would recommend for new investors? Is to look at getting their license there too, or just curious on that journey too?
Well, I always recommend people to get their real estate license because, it legitimizes you as a real estate professional, but also just learning, the lingo, the real estate lingo, terms, definitions. I always recommend people get their real estate license. But what real estate, going to get your real estate license doesn't teach you is investing. And I want to be clear about that. When you go get your real estate license, it's strictly teaching you the laws, and so that's what, I like to relay to people all the time.
Yeah, have that solid foundation, know the laws, but you still got a lot of work to do after getting that license to get into investing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely got a lot of work to do.
fair. um, I know one other thing you talked about, you talked about like mentors and all that, and then I know you've partnered up with various people to build that portfolio. Can you maybe talk about partnering up and the lessons you learned there, and any any advice for people you have on how to find that partner, how to work with that partner, that type of stuff?
Yeah, so I think that, trying to find partners is not hard as people may think it is. I think a lot of times you have to go to conferences. You have to go to and put yourself around those type of people to create those type of relationships. And that's what I did. Not only went to conferences and put myself around those type of people, but I was actually already out there doing the work. So locating deals, when you locate a deal, you got to be able to know where to take the deal to. And for me, that was the easy part, the easy part. And shoot, I just continue to hit the ground running, man.
That's awesome. And then once you start working with a partner, is there any lessons that you've learned there on here's how to best set yourself up for success with a partner?
Yeah, so what I have learned from a partner is how to raise capital. That's one of the things. Like I tell people, I'm not rich, but what I've learned is I've learned how to actually raise capital if I need to raise capital, and because you just as an individual, you're not gonna be able to go out here and buy up every house or every apartment that you see, and raising capital is one of the biggest pieces to the puzzle if you're trying to build a 200 unit or 300 unit portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. Do you when you're raising capital like that, is there any tips you have on the pitch itself, or how to how to win people over and build their win trust with them?
Well, I think the trust come when people see you already out here working, and a lot of times they're always asking you, "Hey, you got any deals? Do you want me to go in with you on anything?" So it's kind of easy at that point. I think people have to really see you doing the work before they can really trust you.
Yep. And just
Yeah,
keep those lines of communication open. Yeah,
yeah,
fair.
absolutely. I know that's what happens with me, man, all the time. I get people all the time asking me if I have any deals that they can partake in. So
Yeah.
that's the easy part. I think coming out here really doing the work and people seeing the work that you're actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's smart. You're putting out so much, social media content on that stuff too, that people see that and builds credibility. That shows people you're doing the work. I know one popular thing you talk about on there is the tax lien list. Can you maybe share with our audience, how to find those types of properties, why that's such a great list to be building, and maybe talk through your playbook there?
Yeah, so tax liens are very challenging, right? So, with tax liens, you definitely got to do a lot of homework. But you can find a tax lien list at your local tax assessor. So whatever, your local tax assessor, you just go there, you type it in, and you find a list. And some states are different, and some, local counties are different. Um, for example, the state of Georgia, they do a year and a day. So it takes a year and a day before you can actually get a actual deed to the property. So every state is different when it comes down to tax liens, but you can definitely get a list from your actual local tax assessor for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I know that for us with a Deal Machine, we've got our driving for dollars, tool, and then we have our list builder option. So I definitely recommend poking around there to look at, one of the quick filters is like behind on taxes and things like that. So you can get creative in terms of being able to pull it that way as well. But
Yeah, that's exactly how I do it. Sometimes when you're driving for dollars, you find out that the taxes are behind.
Yeah, and having that, I mean, being able to really kind of list stack a little bit and know that they're on, the tax lien list, and then also the properties, needing some help, needing some work, it's in physical distress in some way. That's when that, hey, this person could be in a spot where you can really solve a challenge for them. So
Absolutely.
yeah. This has been fantastic. I will say I'd love to get your thought. I know you talk about kind of where you see the real estate market going and trends around real estate investing and that type of thing. So maybe can you talk about where you see things headed? Obviously, no one has a crystal ball, so no one knows for sure. But would love to know if you're like changing your strategy at all according to what you're seeing out there.
Oh man, so the market is changing drastically, and we see now that in certain areas the market has took a real spike. The market is uh, properties that were $250,000 a year ago are worth 400,000 now, or 450 now. So pretty much double. So what I'm seeing, just from my opinion, and like you said, no one has a crystal ball, but in my opinion, we're talking about short-term rentals, and when you're talking about Airbnb, and you're talking about the guys out here flipping, I think all of those, collectively has made the market shoot up in pricing, and the demand is just, super high. And we also have, also a shortage as well. And so I think that the market is going to continue to run. That's just my personal opinion. I think that, people in the bigger cities, they're going to migrate, and, it's going to be a exodus into smaller cities. So I think ultimately, if you haven't gotten into real estate, in the next few years, I think you're going to miss the bus.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how fast things are changing for sure. So we're always telling people like, hey, we want to be a tool to help you find an off-market deal, because finding on-market stuff, like you said, is pretty difficult to find an actual good cash flowing deal that way. So always here to help. And Mo, you're putting out great content too online. I mean, you're clearly can be a resource for people too. Like what's the best way for people to follow up with you and connect with you from here?
Oh man, I'm all over the place, man. All over social media, beyondtheclippers.com. They can connect with me there. They can connect with me on YouTube, Beyond the Clippers on YouTube, Beyond the Clippers on all social media platforms. So I'm all over.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for the time, Mo. Really appreciate it. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on, man.
Perfect. And to everyone watching, this is Matt Camp with Deal Machine, and happy deal finding.